When you walk up to the vehicle with the key, as long as you have the key with you, it's going to sense the key at a certain point. And once it does, you can see it illuminates the handle here. So there's just a subtle light right there behind the handle, so you can find it. It's only here in the front. None of the exterior lights turn on. It's just that light there in the handle. When you push the unlock button on the key fob, the interior lights turn on, and you do have exterior lights. The tail lights here in the front will also illuminate, so you can kind of get a little bit of an approach light from the front and back, but still no lights there on the sides to help you navigate the ground when you're going towards the vehicle when it's very dark. You'll notice the exterior lights turn off quickly, so you'll have to get in the vehicle fast. When you have the headlight switch to the complete off position, you have these super bright lights here in the front. So the headlight switch is in the off position, we have no tail lights, and we have very bright lights here in the front that you could potentially mistake for headlights. Now, if you want to turn these off, you do have to engage the parking brake, and it'll turn these all the exterior lights off. So those are just those daytime running lights. They're super bright. You can see they illuminate the ground in front of the vehicle. Very bright lights. Now I have the parking lights on the headlight switch, the parking position, and those very bright white lights that we just saw are now quite a bit dimmer. So they're more reasonable to look at here on the camera. So they have a really nice sharp look to them. There's also an amber side marker here that's illuminated with the parking lights, and it's amber and it's quite bright when you look at it from the side here. The tail lights are now illuminated, and they wrap around to the side of the vehicle, kind of acting like a side marker, and these are a nice red color. Kind of looks a little orange on camera, but they are red. And it's a nice LED soft glow. Very impressive. Turn signal here in the front is amber in color, and it is a standard bulb. So you have that fade in and out effect from the standard halogen bulb. There's also an amber turn signal indicator here on the side mirror. It's visible from the front, the side, and the back. And the turn signal back here is also halogen, and it's amber in color as well. Okay, so let's transition from those bright lights that turn on when the headlight switch is off to the actual headlights, so you can see the difference there. So you can see the light projects further down in front of the vehicle. It's not so close. So you can see the difference. So that's the low beams, and we're going to look at it going down the highway as well. But there's the high beams, there's the low beams. But the low beams, they are a reflector system here. And let's see if we can lower the brightness a little bit. And you can see that reflector illuminated there. So they're a little bit in the middle of the vehicle, not quite the very tippy top of the vehicle. Has a pretty cool pattern with those combination of those lights. So the cutoff is right pretty low, really low, like 1.5 feet off the ground, maybe 2 feet. And above that is not very bright, so you're not blinding other drivers. When we turn on the high beams, there's an additional light there that turns on. So we saw the ones here at the top that are illuminated. Now there's this one here at the bottom that's now illuminated. It's also a reflector as well. It's in a small little housing though. It's interesting. So now those, you can see there's a much higher cutoff. They're already shining on the camera. But all three of them work together. The cargo area has a single light, and you can see it's there on the left side. It's an LED. It's fairly bright, but you can notice that since it's only on one side, there's no lights here on the other side. There's no lights under here, and there's no lights under the tailgate. So that one light is intended to use for the cargo area exclusively. And you'll notice to the right, if you have cargo here, to the right of that is going to be shadows, because there's only a single light. It's not very high, and it's fairly bright, so that helps out a lot. And it casts some light here on that 12-volt power supply, which is nice. But if I had another light here on the right side, over in this area, maybe up here, maybe two of them, or some kind of over-the-shoulder light up here in the liftgate would be a little bit better. But as it is, it's one light, it's okay. And then there's a backlit button here to lower the power liftgate. The inside of the back door is, there's no puddle light, there's no additional lighting other than this one little finder light showing you where the power window is. The back seat, good thing it has light interiors. You can see in here pretty good, which the interior lights are pretty good. So we have two lights, one on each side of the sunroof there, and it does a decent job. Even with, I mean, the light interior helps, but you can see in the floorboard as well, and that's a black carpet down there, so not bad as far as the actual lights back here. That's it. There's no lights. There's like a pocket right here, and there's no floorboard illumination or anything else. The front door, completely dark once again, no puddle light or anything like that. And then it has the backlit buttons. All the buttons here are backlit, except for the side mirror adjustments there. Completely dark there. But usually you don't have to adjust that very often. So the lights here on the front are coming just from those dome lights there in the center. And once again, it does a decent job of illuminating. There's no floorboard illumination, but these do a decent job of illuminating mostly the seat area and the center console area. And we will need these lights because there's a couple things that you will have to turn the interior lights on to see, mainly the different pocket areas. Okay, so I'm sitting in the driver's seat. I have the door open, so the interior lights are on. I shut the door, interior lights quickly turn off, and now we're left with backlit buttons. So the steering wheel has backlit buttons. It's just white, no color coding or anything like that. You can see there to the left of the steering column, the door, just standard backlit buttons. Completely dark floorboard. And then really good screen for the gauge cluster. Really impressive. It's not too bright on the eyes. Even at the maximum brightness, it's still easy on the eyes somehow. And just during the day, there's like no problem with visibility. So really good. Same thing with this screen. These are basically identical screens. They just serve different purposes. And the navigation map is crisp and sharp because of the resolution and everything. Contrast ratio and everything is great on the on these screens. There's the climate control. Alright, so you can see that just a bunch of buttons down here, but if we once again turn on the interior lights, you'll notice that there is this pocket here that's completely dark. This area right here, where the where you put your cell phone for charging. Cup holders are dark. This area dark. Another pocket there. And then in here, there's no light. So you can see the interior light shines in there great. So it's a good thing that's the case. You turn off the interior lights, you can see it's completely dark. Glove compartment has a nice bright light, which is nice. I like that. So let's go ahead and put it in reverse so we can see the camera system here. You can see behind the vehicle, it has parking sensors activated and all that. And it's no problem. It increases the brightness around the vehicle so you can see pretty good. Now the headlight switch is interesting because it's completely dark. It's not backlit here. But if you know where it is and you start turning it, it shows you on the screen where you're at, which is nice. So you can see automatic, off, so you don't accidentally turn it to the wrong thing, like off, and think your headlights are on when they're not, because there's bright lights that are shining in the front, that kind of thing. Okay, so up here is, interestingly, it has some backlit buttons for the roadside assistance there, and it also has these tap lights. You actually tap the light. Now you'll notice that you can't see anything. And this is one of my criticisms that I have with a lot of brands. A lot of vehicles have this, where the actual button to turn on the interior lights is not illuminated. And that's the only time you would want to push that button, was when it's dark. But for some reason, that button is not illuminated. So let's push this light right there, which is not super easy to find, but it is very bright. But you'll notice the button right there is the button I'm talking about, the turn on the interior lights. Completely not illuminated. For some reason, that's one of the few buttons that's not backlit. The button over here that one is to keep the interior lights from turning on when you open the door. So right now they're turned on. So when you press this button, there's also an additional light here as well. It kind of illuminates there. These mostly shine in your lap. And this kind of gives more light in this area here. But yeah, I'm not sure why they don't at least have some kind of light. Like when you turn it on, it has a little light there. But when it's turned off, you can't even see where it is. It's crazy to me that vehicles have that. All right, so when you open up the visor here, there is a mirror, but the light doesn't turn on by itself. You have to manually turn it on here. So there it is. But what's interesting is if you accidentally leave it on, when you close this, it's going to hit the little button there to turn it off. So if you accidentally leave it on and then you flip that up, it'll turn off. So which is pretty cool. Here's the pattern of light right here. And I hope maybe you can tell it is not a razor sharp line. It's a little bit jagged because it has those multiple reflectors and they don't line up perfectly. And you can see there's the high beams and there's low beams. Kind of adds to the mix there. Now I have the automatic high beams on, so we'll see how well they work. They're already turning on prematurely. Alright, they turn back off. Okay, so you can see on the ground, there's just a slight lowering for the oncoming traffic, on the oncoming traffic lane. And that's pretty typical with most vehicles. But I'm seeing that on the low beams especially, the lights kind of fade out quickly. It doesn't go down the road very far. Probably because of that low cutoff. Now these appear to be a little bit better than the Santa Fe. The Santa Fe, I wasn't able to do a night video on it, but I drove it briefly at night and it was very disappointing headlights. These seem to be a little bit better than those, even though it has a similar type system. And it could have been just a, not properly aligned or whatever vehicle that I was driving, but okay, so let me slow down a little bit, let that car go ahead. So the automatic high beam should turn on if that other car would not be there. Or that one. Or that one. A lot of traffic tonight, apparently. Okay. So there's the high beams, and you notice it's not like a huge drastic difference with the high beams. It does give you a little bit better visibility, especially the distance there, but it still fades out a little bit. It's just, I think what it is just that the actual position of the light is okay. It's just not very bright. I think that's the real issue that I have with it. It's just not, could be a little bit brighter, you know. I would say it's decent headlights, not bad, but certainly not very impressive. Not as bad as like the Santa Fe that I drove. That was actually poor headlights at times. And the automatic high beams seem to have a little bit of an issue too. Yeah, the high beams are a little bit better than the low beams, but the low, you know, they're still not all that great.